What's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? It's Wednesday, August 5th, 10:15 a.m. here in Sydney, Australia. Wherever you are in the world, I say welcome. The link that's pinned on the screen, I'll keep it pinned in the comments section. Join our world famous JSB professional betting Discord. We just passed a year in the game. We're approaching 600 VIPs. It's a couple bucks a month. You become part of our, in my opinion, the most well-researched, consistently successful in terms of betting fight community around. So you can join on YouTube or Patreon, whichever way you join, you get access. You get all my tips, my slips, become part of our community. So much value. We stream the fights in there. We have a lot to talk about, so I'm just going to get that link off of the screen. And if you're not in the Discord, join. Also, if you are a VIP here on YouTube or Patreon and you're not in the Discord, DM me and I will send you the link. Other than that, we have a lot to talk about. And I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to bring the odds up. I'm going to take your questions. And we're going to get into this because there's a lot of fights. I've gotten a lot of questions about some random fights, kind of fights that I'm probably not going to take action on, but I will address them because we're a team here. Doesn't mean that I can't give you my perspective. So no matter the obscurity of your question, feel free to ask. I also want to let everybody know, all the VIPs, all the insiders, we do have, including our quarterly parlay, we have 4 tickets that are live. So I just posted another one today. I posted about 2 hours ago. All of our tickets are plus money. I just posted a method of victory double. The first fight starts this Friday in New Zealand, and the second fight is on the Irish card. If you take the knockout and take the points, it pays plus 244. I just posted that today. My UFC dog of the week is live, plus 118. That UFC card is in the Apex. Why is that significant for you MMA bettors? The Apex has the smaller octagon. So for me, when I saw this guy at plus money, who's an elite grappler, an elite wrestler, the smaller octagon favors the grappler. That's what I'm leaning on. So that's my dog at plus 118. You guys, that's 2. You guys also have my MVP money line double that pays plus 156. And then the other one is our boxing money line quad that pays plus 132. So that's 4 tickets. I'm seeking out, I'm looking for a dog right now in boxing. I don't, this is good. You know, it happens every now and then. It happened about 5 weeks ago. I didn't like a dog, so I didn't bet one. I don't know, man. I think the Zuffa Irish card has a lot of matchups that are put in place by Dana in Zuffa to favor the A side. We can't look at, because we had that Irish card last week with Pierce, O'Leary, and Mark Chamberlain, and Chamberlain was with the B side and the dog, and Chamberlain won, but Chamberlain stopped Pierce. So it's not one of these cards. We can't compare the Irish cards because the promotions are different. One was Queensberry. This is Zuffa. Regarding the matchmaking, I see a lot of favorable matchups for the A sides on the Irish card. So I was trying to do my, see like, all right, who could be upset here? I don't see it. I think a lot of you got matchups of like super middleweights fighting middleweights. You got UK super middleweights, bigger dudes bringing over C-level, domestic level Americans who are in smaller divisions. And I'm like, this is why the odds are that way. Don't forget that when you're doing your own film study, when you're looking at potential dogs, don't ever dismiss the fact of asking yourself, what weight class is this fight going into? Because I've seen a couple guys break down a couple of these fights, and how do you can't miss the weight class. If we're breaking down a fight, the first thing you must say is, hey guys, this fight's happening at 160 pounds. The A side is a 160 pounder. The guy that he's bringing in, who's a domestic level guy from out of the country, is a 154 pounder, right? So there's a lot of these sort of matchups on that Irish Zuffa card. So I really don't see any dogs. The MVP card is interesting. The MVP girls card. We make a lot of money on the female cards. I actually love watching. I love betting on the female cards because our group, we do really well. And the chat, the chat during live betting is absolutely hilarious in our Discord. So, and we have a couple female boxing snipers, guys who, they make their money and they make us money, and our group is very, we share knowledge, and so when I saw the MVP card was going on, the odds, there are a couple 50-50 fights. You know, I wrestled with maybe playing the Thorsland as the dog, but I just don't like her level of competition. I don't like her lack of defense in the pocket. I don't like her being undersized. And I really, really like the Kiwi. I really like Sugar Neeks' conditioning. I like her physicality. I like her volume. I like how tight she is in the pocket. So I did wrestle. I was close to taking Dina as the dog, but I have Sugar Neeks on the money line on one parlay. So that's kind of the preface to the start of the show. We're 6 minutes in. There's 90 of you in here. So we are a growing community. I'm going to get caught up with the chat. Okay. At work waiting for the stream. Where's the Discord link? Okay. So XO, where's the Discord link? Because you signed up on YouTube, bro, email me, johnnystofko@icloud.com. My email is in my YouTube bio. If you signed up here on YouTube, you have to email me and I'll send you the link. If you signed up on Patreon, DM me. Hey, Johnny, I don't see the Discord. The Discord link. I didn't mean to confuse anybody. To join our Discord, sign up at one of these. That's to join. I only see a YouTube link and a Patreon link. Okay, so Jack, if you signed up on Patreon, DM me. I'm looking. I actually sent, if you're Jackson, I sent you the link already, so check. I'm going to ask Tam's old Olympic coach. Tam's is a beast, but Auntie Des is durable, so we got to keep that in mind as well. You know what I'm saying? Fat Boy Slim. What do I think of Mark Buke at plus? So Mark Buke is fighting. I'll bring this up real quick. Yeah, Mark Buke is terrible. Well, I don't want to. I feel bad saying he's bad. Mark Buke is a guy. Did you watch his last fight? Mark Buke fought a guy, Antonio Williams. Neither guy. They were on that Zuffa card. He's being brought in lambs to the slaughter. This is a guy who, really isn't a boxer. When you watch his tape, it's not. There's not a lot of high level stuff going on. He's a plus 550 dog. He's being brought in as a sacrificial lamb. He fights at 160. Connor Coyle's a big 168. This fight's at 168. Mark Buke has never fought a 10-rounder. He's gone from fighting domestic level guys, C- guys in America in 6 and 8 rounders. I think he's already in his, how old is this kid? Yeah, I didn't like, all you have to do is watch his last fight and you can see what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Connor Coyle is going to be a world champion, but Connor Coyle, he fought to a draw with with Walsh. And it was overturned because he was on the gear. So make what you will of that. But this is a kid that is being brought over. Like Coyle at $1.14. It's not really a great price to bet on, but I don't see Buke being competitive in this fight. Yeah, my bad. I said Walsh. I meant Vito Melnicki. So he had that no contest with Vito Melnicki. White boys. I got my white boys mixed up. I got my mid-tier B- white boys mixed up. My bad. So he had a draw that was turned into a no contest with Vito Melnicki. Is that what it originally was? Was it originally a draw? Yeah, it was a majority draw. And then he popped dirty, and then he fights a guy, and he stops him. Knockout in the 8th. He's been fighting 10-rounders his whole career for the last 6 years. Look, To say that Mark Buke is live is absolutely insane. So that's my take on it. Johnny, what's up? Galley, McKenna, T-Ball. Yeah. So full transparency, King. I don't currently have action on the Amanda versus Auntie Chicken. Auntie Chicken. I can't be betting on Auntie Chicken. So if somebody were to say who are you taking, I would take Amanda. And I do think Aaron McKenna is one of the best fighters in the world at 160. And Tam Tebow's an absolute beast. So you guys are asking. I think the question is in the chat is, will Tam Tebow be able to get Auntie Dez out of there? Auntie Dez is big and durable. Auntie Dez has won us money. So I'm not getting fancy as of yet on the props for the MVP card. But even though I don't have Amanda on any of my tickets, I think Amanda should beat Auntie Chicken. Anyone get a look? You see, you guys are talking about Connor. Why Mark Buke? Do your research, dude. Mark Buke is horrible. Let me show you. All right. You guys are funny. Okay. This dude. All right, so this is the dude that people want to talk about. Okay. Let's see our boy Mark Buke, okay? He fights at 160 pounds. 6 foot tall from Texas, 32 years old, okay? He's a 32-year-old, right? Keep that in mind. 32-year-old, 61 pro rounds. What do we, come on. He just first 8-rounder, right? Against Antonio Woods. And, bro, I mean, this kid's fighting 4-rounders, 6-rounders, 6-23, 5-20. Antonio Woods' 14-1 record might have been the most insane Antonio Woods' 14-1 record might have been the most insane 14-1 record we had ever seen. This is the win. This is the win that propelled Mark Buke to be taken into Ireland as the B-side to fight up a weight class against a guy who had was an make whatever you will, had a good amateur background. When you deep dive Antonio Woods' resume, the numbers are going to be a little bit better than Buke's. Look, Buke is just going to be a guy who is, when I watch Mark Buke box, it looks like a guy who picked up the gloves late, who is kind of, who probably likes to fight. He likes to fight, but there's a lot of shortcomings in the box. We know boxing isn't fighting. They're two different things. Stiff, not good punch selection, predictable. They're bringing him in for a reason. So unless you think he could beat Connor, $1.14. You could use Connor on the money line. He's $1.14. I mean, Connor just turned, I think, 35. Mark Buke's 32. Connor's been fighting 10-rounders for 10 years. Fought much better competition. The more well-rounded fighter. I mean, that's all I'm gonna say about that. You guys love it, though. Nikita Tszyu, Ben Monty. Nikita Tszyu in a good spot. I think Nikita Tszyu has the potential of going international. You guys heard me say this. He has a friendly fight style, a team style. Nikita Tszyu is adding levels to him defensively. He's a lot slicker than people think. He's a great athlete. He can crack. Importantly, he wants to be in a slugfest. Now, Ben, the thing about why it's interesting is because Ben is a little bit more of a slickster. Ben is a guy who will use the entire ring. He will make Nikita come to him and then try to rely on his counters. But I think Ben would be grossly mistaken if he feels Nikita's feet aren't as good as they are. Because I've heard people in the media talking about Nikita's feet aren't. Nikita's a good athlete, and his feet have gotten better and better, and he's quick and he's explosive. if Nikita, now Ben cut his teeth in kickboxing and Muay Thai, lifelong martial artist. We know boxing; those two things are different. They're not the same. If Nikita could go in and look impressive and possibly stop Ben in his hometown in Queensland, I mean, you're right there of taking Nikita international. Especially, I think he's a dark horse at 54. I would like to see. I mean, we'll see. I don't want to speak over my boots yet. I saw McKenna on Patreon. The dude he's fighting is undefeated too, but I heard level of competition. Yeah, he's fighting Etinosa Oliha. Etinosa Oliha is a guy that in his biggest spot he had to pull out due to failing an eye test against Emma Williams. Etinos is a guy doesn't have one punch knockout power, doesn't really fight at three different ranges, doesn't have the punch, doesn't have the doesn't have. Aaron McKenna, seasoned for. Aaron McKenna has been put in this position and molded for this. He's a kid since the amateurs, amateur champion. Since the amateurs, has been going to the United States, training and sparring with devinhaney, Terence Crawford, doing camps with Bomac in Nebraska. And so all you have to do is what. And Aaron McKenna, a 26-year-old who just turned 27, who hadn't had a fight in a year. That I don't think that's an issue. Not at his age. If he was 35, that would be an issue, but not at 26, just turning 27. McKenna's a joy to watch. His feet, how he slides in and out of range, his punch placement, his levels. The kid does a lot of things really, really well. And more importantly, the optics or the psychology of how he fights. When you watch his posturing, when you watch where he wants the fight to take place, I think he's going to make it look easy against Aliha. Yeah, the numbers are going crazy. I try not to get too specific with the numbers. I've seen it up to 92, just went to 41. All you guys could do is just like the video. Just do that for me. Connor Coyle's failed test 2 fights ago. Yeah, so if anything, the Connor Coyle failed drug test. I mean, if anything, we're gonna make cash this weekend. We're gonna do it. Coyle looked like shit against his left. I'm not betting on this fight. Like, it's not like I'm going into this fight saying, dude, Connor Coyle versus Mark Buke. If you think Coyle looked like shit in his last fight, watch Mark Buke. Watch his tape. That's all I'm gonna say. Auntie Chicken is Sharita Metcalf. Auntie Chicken's our girl, Chicken Metcalf. I love the MVP cards, bro. I'm afraid Gamrot gets left in the first round, bro. That's so specific. If you're that spot on that our boy Quillen, QSQ, we'll call him Q for the sake of disparity. We've seen Q, then take Q. You're referring to the Beneil Dariush fight. Gamrot's an animal. I know he's not 27 anymore. By no means, don't get it twisted, brother. This is Q's step up. This is a step up for Quillen. This isn't Gamrot's step up. I think we're going to see what I think this is going to look like, not stylistically, because we know Gamer is a wrestler and grappler, but I think we're going to see sort of a performance of when Cub Swanson fought the Superboy, when everybody thought Swanson was the old, not stylistically, and I'm not, this fight's not going to look like that because Cub and Superboy were strikers. And if you haven't seen that fight, come on, bro. One of my all-time favorite fights. I put Cub versus Superboy up there with Eric Silva versus Matt Brown. Eric Silva, Tiger Silva, one of my all-time favorite welterweights nobody talks about anymore. He had some wars. I think Silva had a war with Carlos Condit while it lasted. But where I was getting at is, I remember when Cub beat Superboy, he was getting an interview and he started getting teary-eyed. He was like, you guys had me as a 3-1 dog. You guys said I was done. You said that I was washed. And he was like, I had that in my ear all camp. I was thinking about that all camp. And Cub went on to put his career. And, he went on to retire. Boy, take another to. I don't know. Knock. You bet those odds are probably going to be insane. Got beat by. Then you have your dog. But Buzz is selling you guys. If you guys need a dog, and I'm not talking out, then take shit. That's crazy. Buke's plus 550. Okay, so we're talking. So Boz is selling us on what Coyle either did or didn't do. Now you got to sell me on Mark Buke, and I want you to sell me on his tape. I want you to tell me what you see when you watch him fight. Youngin, all you missed were the first 20 minutes. You missed the hellos, you missed the what's ups, you missed the a little bit of questioning, but we're here now. I'm going to stay on for a long time. We're at 114 people on this live. Like the video. The numbers are going crazy. Coyle got beat by 2 journeymen on PEDs. Coyle is 36-year-old favorite. Those mid-30 favorites highs. But Mark Buke is a 32-year-old domestic C-level American who has never fought a 10-rounder and is a natural middleweight. And this fight's at super middleweight. So these things must matter. Because of all this, just to reiterate, this fight does not appear on any of my tickets. I know everybody wants the dog, so if I were you boys, if you were thinking about Mark Buke, listen to Julius. If Jay Knows Boxing gives you the go-ahead, I would back that, whatever he says. But I don't see Mark Buke as a guy who would beat my sparring partners. Like now, like what we can't just say what Connor Coyle is or isn't without saying what Mark Buke is or isn't. Okay, because the facts that I look at on this have nothing to do with sort of the past where they're coming from. It has everything to do with Buke never fighting a 10-rounder. Buke being a B-side, Buke never fighting at 68, never fighting anywhere close to the B level in America. So I don't know, man. Then get after it. What's up, boys? My good friend and old coach is doing pads with Tam. Tam is a beast. Bro, you don't pronounce... I know, right? Isn't it crazy that the Aussies pronounce it Monty? It drives me freaking insane. The Aussies pronounce Mahoney, they pronounce it Monty. And Bum Equipment, it breaks my heart to adhere to the chaos of the Australian accent and the Australian dialect. But after 13 years living in Sydney, because one of my favorite Aussie sports is called NRL, the rugby league, and I have season tickets to a team called the West Tigers. And there was a kid for the longest time who was the best player for Parramatta, the Parramatta Eels. And his last name was Mahoney. And it's Monty. And that's how I first heard of this. And then Ben Monty, I know, it drives me fucking insane. It's Mahoney! Don't tell an Aussie that, though. Yeah, McKenna and Nakia for the win. I like Aaron McKenna on points, and I like Nakia by knockout. So I do have McKenna on a parlay. I have Nakia on a parlay. I do like a prop double, and I'll show you. If you guys this is something I really like. Well, those odds are crashing. I got Nakia by knockout at $1.88. Look at the odds crashing. That's insane. Look to the far right where my arrow is here. We never see the fluctuation like that. That is insane. The odds fell off a cliff and then they skyrocketed. So I got Nakia at $1.88 by knockout. He's down to $1.76. And then a double that I really like is if you take, because we're in the business of doubling our money, creating tickets to where nothing less than doubling our money. And then if I could get Greatest Kraus by knockout, I'm taking Greatest by knockout. People, the there's certain because our community, the JSB insiders, we watch every fight and we don't discriminate internationally. We watch domestic Japanese cards, we watch domestic New Zealand cards. We know about Dutch boxing. When I hear people online who don't know about certain fighters, and then because they don't know about a certain fighter, they say that they must be trash or that they're. I'm like, bro, do you even watch boxing? So I'm thinking what I really want a greatest cross knockout prop, but I don't think we're getting it. So that's not the fight I was gonna say. I'm pairing Aaron McKenna on points. I'm taking McKenna on points at $1.88, and I do have this as a play. This is in the disc. This is in the Patreon. This double pays plus 230. So 100 on this gets you your money back plus 230. Come on, dude. I love this double. So that's something that I do have action on this week. Nakia by knockout, McKenna on points together. Individually, I do have Nakia on the money line and McKenna on the money line as well, because 28% return on the money line against Aliha, I feel, is great, great value. Gary's all in on Mark. So 3D's all in on Mark Buke. Wow. Okay. But it has, guys, we do. Gary knows his shit, but he does love Texas fighters, and he can't get a bit. I don't know. Maybe the blinders are on. It's not like I don't know who Mark Buke is. I watched the Antonio fight. I've watched the limited tape you could find on Mark Buke. There's nothing about, and I'm not saying Connor Coyle's a world champion, boys. That's all I'm saying. What do you see, Terry, Lance? Do you think Buke is live? We need more than one opinion. And I'm not demeaning Gary's take that Buke is live. If he's a Texas kid, Gary likes Texas fighters. I get it. That's fine. I understand that. I try my best week in and week out not to bet with my heart, always bet with my wallet. So I think it's important as bettors to be able to compartmentalize any sort of allegiance or any sort of emotional attachment when we're wagering our money. Disregard who Buke is fighting. When I look at the logistics of this matchup, he's a 160 168. He's never fought a 10 rounder. His entire pro experience is C level or below on the domestic American scene, regional domestic American scene, and he's 32 years old. So, okay. As a plus 550 coming to Ireland in a spot against one of their boys, in a fight in which he majority drew against Vito, Vito's fighting Ammo next month, and I'm taking Ammo, and Ammo's it's almost a 50-50 fight. So would Mark Buke be competitive with Vito? I know we don't like doing math theories, but you guys are going to be like, Connor tested positive for PEDs. All right, bitches. You guys don't bring that up when I talk about Ryan and Devin. You guys force me to defend Devin when I'm not a fan of either. I'm not a fan, like, people totally disregard Ryan popped dirty. The fight got turned over for doing the same thing, but no one talks about that. But with Connor Coyle against Mark Buke, everyone is talking about why Mark Buke is live because Connor tested positive. It's not a fight I got money on, but if you guys want to, if somebody could sell me on a path to victory from Mark Buke, I wish we could watch the tape right now. O'Leary on points. Oh, dude, O'Leary versus Chamberlain. Shout out to Mark Chamberlain. Camrot beats Q in a boring fight. That's what I'm leaning on. Poor Benil, the only Assyrian fighter. He had a good run. Yeah, but Benil. The thing about Benil, and I'm a Benil Dariush fan. If you guys don't know, the Assyrian people are a displaced people from the Middle East, Iran. And if I'm off base on this, youngin can help me out. Christians and Benil Dariush He was a guy in his prime who went on a run. I think at one time Beneil might have had 7 in a row, and he still wasn't getting like title shots or title eliminators. In the fight that really kind of derailed that momentum, and he was never able to get back on track, is when he put his hand up to, his opponent falls off, and he takes on a short notice Alexander Hernandez, and that was the fight that kind of propelled Hernandez into the spotlight. And it was just kind of a bad spot decision wise for Benny. But Benny at his best was a beast. Benny's highlight reel is great too. I'm gonna sprinkle on Tam. Yeah, but sprinkle on Tam. She's a beast. Auntie Des is dirt. Auntie Des does get hit a lot, and she's stiff, and so I could see her just taking a bunch of shots, and then the ref standing in. So I can't see that. Johnny, it seems you're all in on Sugar Neeks over Thorson. Do you have any insight on why? I don't know much about either, but I thought you. Yes. So what I do, and we talked about this in our Discord, Terry. This is a fight that undisputed title. Shanika Johnson, been in close fights. She has all the belts. Her losses came early in her career to Shotgun O'Connell. Shotgun, the loss didn't really age well, but it was early on in Shanika's career, and Shotgun O'Connell was in her prime at that time, early 2020s. Nina Hughes, and then she moves down a division, and she's been in there with the best in the world in her division. She's bigger than Dina. Dina, in my opinion, her resume doesn't have anything on it that jumps off the page for me. Her win to loss record looks good, but she's smaller, and I think I really like Shanika Johnson's strength and conditioning. I like her physicality in there. I think her volume and where she wins this fight is in the pocket. She's not the best pocket puncher, but she's defensively sound enough. She has a high guard, and I think she's going to bully Dina. I like Shanika to lean on her engine, her output, her volume, her strength, and kind of big sister Dina a little bit in there and win a decision. So the odds are almost 50-50 either way. There was a time where I was thinking about Dina, and then after rewatching the tape, seeing who Dina's been in there with, it should be mentioned, and I'm not using this as a reason, but as I brought up Etinosa Oliha pulling out of the fight against Ammo due to the eye issue, Dina Thorsland she was pregnant, and she unfortunately had to have a miscarriage, had to take time off. With that comes, medical procedures. Some people were saying they didn't know if she was going to get back in the ring. She's back in the ring. She's young enough. She's a little bit smaller than Shanika. Shanika's a tank, dude. Shanika, when you follow her strength training, follow her coach. She's a Kiwi-born Aussie. She doesn't take a back step. It's going to be really interesting right off the bat where this fight takes place. If Dina is able to use her boxing and fight Shanika at range, she will find most of her success there. But when I watch Dina fight, she doesn't like doing that. She likes to be the bully as well. And I just don't see her with the physical disadvantages. I think she's about 1.5 inches smaller than Shanika, and definitely not as strong, which I would be shocked come fight night if Dina was able to back up Sugar. I think the fight's going to take place exactly where Sugar wants it, and she will be able to use her physicality to beat her. So that's how I see it. Not going to be a technical jab scoring points fight. Going to be a brutal in the pocket, probably some headbutts, some clashes. You know how these things go with the ladies, but that's kind of what I see. I feel good about McKenna, but you think McKenna could knock this dude out? No, McKenna's not the biggest puncher, but he's sharp. He's technical. He has good volume. He's a good body puncher. He has good punch variety. When I'm taking McKenna on points, it's actually an ode to Etinosa and his athleticism and his durability and his shiny record. Guys, at any level, it's really hard to stop an undefeated fighter. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but when I'm thinking about outcomes, there's certain sort of benchmarkers that I look for. Like last week, I brought this up yesterday. We hit a method of victory double on 2 fights that paid plus 300. And it was Morataya on points. And it was Raul Curiel on points. And the reason for that was both Raul and Morataya were fighting guys who had never been stopped. So, as I said, it's much harder to not only beat a guy who's undefeated, it's much harder to stop a guy who's undefeated. Just like it's really hard to stop a veteran who's never been stopped. And with Raul Curiel outpointing Quentin Randall, it worked in our favor. And Morataya fighting a 37-year-old gold medal former Brazilian world champion in Conceição, it worked out in our favor. It's just kind of one of those gambles that I'll take based off of history. And you know, picking McKenna on points is more about I'm hoping that Etinosa is as good as some people think he is. I think it's going to be like an 8-4, maybe 9-3 sort of thing. Do you rate Nakia? Nakia's a beast. Do I rate him? He is a guy who's cut out of stone. He's a physical specimen. He's a 6'6" brute. He took the Jai fight on short notice. I don't know many blokes who would take Jai Apatai on short notice. Had a moment, you know, didn't go his way, but it kind of shows you the wiring of a guy like Nakia to take Jai on short notice. That kid fought him without a camp. Landed a good shot. Some people say the Jai was a little bit wobbled. We know how the fight ended. Nakia comes from a good camp, man. I first heard of David Nakia from my boy Action Jackson, John England. John England is the top 15 guy at 130 pounds from Perth, but raised in Sydney, lives in Perth now. England has a win over Jamel Herring, has a loss to Liam Wilson. I think Jackson is going to be getting back in the ring soon. He's been telling me about David Nakia for the last few years. I think he should. I think with Floyd Mason's style or in sort of willingness to be chest to chest and lack of movement, I think this is a good spot for David to shine. He is the A side. He's at home, and I like the knockout there. And guys, I try not to look too far ahead of myself regarding, like, do I think David is going to be a world champion? I think this is for a world eliminator. I think the winner probably gets Doll Riley, if my memory serves me correctly. But for what I do and what we do here, I have to only focus on a week-to-week basis. So I'm just focusing on Nakia versus Mason, and I think this is a great spot for Nakia to shine. Buke catching strays out. See, that's what I try not to do, but I'm trying not to get Buke to. And thanks for calling me on that. I guess sometimes when things get one-sided, I have to then play the other side for the sake of trying to find a middle ground. Because I've been getting like this. I had probably 10 messages about Mark Buke is going to beat Connor Coyle. And because this fight wasn't on my radar in terms of me betting on, you guys know my slips, I then will take all those messages and say Buke is going to beat Coyle, and then I have to reverse it and be like, what are these? And then I'll go the other way around and find all these reasons why Buke is not going to win, and then I'll work my way back to the middle. So because I do these live streams, you're just hearing me working my way back to the middle. So that's why I was trying to catch myself. Who the hell am I to call any pro fighter trash? And that's why I don't use that word. But I do feel Buke is being brought into Europe as a lamb. Somebody has to lose. Now at plus 500, I'm not a guy who takes fighters because of odds. I'm not a guy who's gonna place $1 on anybody just because the odds are that way. Blame it on logic. I need you to give me a path to victory. So I need somebody to prove to me how Buke beats Coyle. Why do you think he beats him? What in Buke's tape makes you think he beats him? Don't bring up Coyle, though. Sell me on Buke. I just don't see it. Hey, man, how's it going? It's been a while. I've been watching every single live. I won good money on Zuffa. Great call, my man, Nathan Navarro. What's up, brother? Appreciate you. Guys, wherever you are in the world, like this video. The numbers are going crazy. We peaked at 110. We dipped down to 50. We're at 72 now. Just like the video for me. What the come on, baby. Yeah, dude, you're a West fan? Dude, the light card oval in the house. Let's go. They started off good. They're not doing that good now, boy. But I'm a diehard West fan. One of my good mates was the strength and conditioning coach for the last 5 years. He just got fired. But yeah, Benji in the house. Let's go. Nikita inside. Are we talking Nikita Zoo or David Nakia? Mahoney Makahoney. There he is. They're not bringing Buke over to Ireland to win over an Irishman. They're not bringing Buke over to. Yes. Right? I think we're agreeing here, Terry. Yeah, and we have this has to be mentioned, right? Why else would Mark has to take this fight? Mark at 32 is coming off his biggest spot of his career. So when we're talking about momentum, you give it to Mark. He fought on a Zuffa card. What, Zuffa 3? And I think Mark was an underdog there. And I think what we're learning about the Zuffa cards, at least in America, the Apex cards, is that we see it week in and week out that the odds makers get it wrong. But he's 32 now. I mean, he's a guy who goes from not fighting anything over 6 to 8 rounders to getting that Zuffa spot to now, at 32 years old, hey, we got a spot for you, but it's a division up. It's against a guy who has more pro experience, more high-level experience than you, and it's in his backyard. Of course he's going to say yes. So that alone is why those odds start right there, right? For the people who like Mark in this spot, what I need to convince me otherwise is you need to give me a path to victory. Like, he doesn't have the best volume. He's not the sharpest puncher. He's not the most accurate puncher. His versatility of how he sets things up, he's kind of basic. But I don't know. It's if your bankroll's insane and you think the bookies have it wrong at plus 500, then play it. So I'm not trying to talk you out of your play. It's just that him at plus 500, I think those odds are that way for a reason. Nika. Yeah. Thanks, man. David Nika. All right, thanks. Feeling good about sugar. I am. G does bet with his emotions several times. Keith Thurman, perfect example, and does follow his emotions again. Yeah, and I get it. I was explaining it to one of my online clients today, Terry. But he's in our group, and I'm his strength coach, and we do live streams together. And I grew up, my father grew up running numbers for my Uncle Lenny. So a lot of people, like Youngstown, Ohio, on a map, sits right in between New York City and Chicago. And massive Italian mob town, old steel town, car bombings. Google it. You'll see what I'm talking about. And so running numbers and collecting numbers and bets and gambling has been in my family since I could walk. So as a kid, being a diehard Cleveland sports fan, which we suck at everything, Browns, Indians, and Cavs, my dad would always be like, Johnny, why are you betting on the Browns? Because I love the Browns. He's like, this is where I got the advice. Never bet with your heart, bet with your wallet. And if you do find yourself emotionally betting on either a fighter or a team, don't bet it. So, yeah, I get it. It happens a lot. The Keith Thurman thing is crazy. I don't want to beat a dead horse with that one. But every now and then on the opposite side, a couple times a year, I feel, boys, we get these opportunities to take advantage of sort of the community of emotional bettors. I mean, we saw Tim Zhu as an underdog against Errol, and we saw Seb Fendora with favorable odds against Keith. And both of those, Seb by knockout and Tim on the money line, fed families. And we don't get fights like that a lot throughout the year, but when we do, I feel we have to take advantage of that. And the only way we take advantage of those odds with those matchups is we can't bet emotionally. Coyle was signed to fight Ammo and shit himself. No, he didn't fake an injury during fight week, during the medicals. See, this is where we have to fact check my boy Sebastian. Boz is my boy too. During medicals, during the eye exams, they found a detached retina, and so that's why he was pulled out. Faking an injury is crazy work. He had to have a procedure. Does McKenna's lack of activity? Not at all. Aaron McKenna's lack of activity as a 26-year-old going into 27 does not bother me at all. It's a division at 160 pounds that have seen a lot of movement in the last 12 months. This is a kid who, after he beat Liam, calls everybody out. This is a kid who's a matchup nightmare for so many people at 160. Janabek getting stripped and moving to 68. Hamza moving to 68. Adamas still has a belt there. There's rumors that Adamas is going to go up. We'll see. And then you got Unklara is the other belt holder. So I think McKenna I put McKenna right at the top. I think at 27, he's going to hold, and he's just getting into his physical prime. When you watch his tape, man, and he evolves as a fighter. For me, it's not just McKenna as how he's fighting offensively. It's how he uses his movement, how he swings in and out of range, him adding the angles in his last fight, his body punching. There's a lot to like on the tape, and I think he is world level. I don't think he's one of these guys that is domestically manufactured from a specific part of the world that needs a champion. I think you take Liam and you could put him up against anybody at 160, and he's either going to come out on top or it's going to be a firefight because he fights really brave as well. So we'll see. Johnny, yes, her birthday's tomorrow. My brother's in the group's birthday, and it's my birthday. I'm placing all your bets. I need it presently. What's up, fight fan? Appreciate you. Johnny, need to know what happened with the awkward fella who harasses. So that guy was stuck. I'll message. I don't want to bring it up on the live. The cops are involved. Hey, Johnny, I know you said you sent me a DM. It's Jack on Patreon. I'm not Jackson. All right, let me check. Jack, you have to DM me. So go to Patreon and just message me, and I'll send you the link right now. Grandmaster Johnny definitely joining JSP in September. My Hail Mary slips is in for the month of August. We got to be positive about it, boys. We got to be positive. If we can't be negative about this. So chicken wins, you think? No. I think Amanda beats Auntie. Callum Walsh, does he need the stoppage to win? No. Does he need the stoppage to win? Tyler Denny's not a puncher. And Callum Walsh is a guy. You mean Tyler Denny needs a stoppage to win? I think that's what you mean, right? The only way Tyler Denny wins is stopping Callum. I agree on getting the knockout on vets, but some are obvious, like the Albert Gonzalez. Yes, I did take Chop, but I took Pacheco by knockout. But Chop Gonzalez is a guy. He looked great in his last fight. He fought my boy Dana Colwell. Dana fought him tough. Dana's coming back. Keep an eye on my boy Deadly Dana Colwell, man. People don't know about him. That's my man. In back-to-back fights, Dana fought Shushu Carrington and Chop Gonzalez, man. Who's moving like that? You know what I mean? Came up on the short end of the stick on both. But Dana's long for the division. Technical, great fight IQ, works his ass off. I can't wait to see Dana back in action. But Chop is a guy that I feel is still kind of, we know his identity of who he wants to be as a fighter. To say that I was locked in and convinced he was going to go in there and just steamroll that guy, yeah, I wasn't that confident. And he did. So sometimes these things happen. With Pacheco, I think it's a bit of a different story. Diego leaving Benavidez Sr., coming back home to LA, teaming up with Buddy McGirt. Aleem kind of having, that long fight with Lester. I thought it was, the prop was ours to have, and that Diego by knockout fed family. So hats off on that one. Do you think Callum can stop Tyler Denny? Thinking about play Walsh on points. Tyler Denny, a tough old vet, only been stopped twice. I just don't know if Callum Walsh is that guy to all of a sudden turn into a guy to stop guys. I'm not the biggest Callum Walsh believer that he's a world level guy. I don't know if Callum Walsh I don't think he ever wins a world title. I got to be honest with you. I've been watching, like I said, for how much boxing I watch just as much UFC and regional MMA. So in Australia, if you're a subscriber to UFC Fight Pass over the last 5 years, you would have watched Dana force feed us the Hollywood Fight Nights, the Hollywood Fight Night cards, with Callum Walsh fighting, his level of opponent as you would in your early 20s. He's never really impressed me. So I don't know. I have Callum at on a money line parlay, but I'm not playing it. Tyler Denny should be able to. Tyler Denny's going to go into that fight thinking he could beat Callum. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like Denny's going into this. Denny's going to this fight like, who's this dude? This dude, he ain't get one. And so I don't think Walsh is sneaky enough to get the stoppage. Walsh, for me, sometimes when you see him hurt his opponents, he'll back up. I think he's still trying to figure out his like ceiling of confidence as a puncher, and he has lulls in between output. I don't know. It's all look, guys. Whatever you see, whatever your play is, we all know as men, it's always going to be a risk. I'm not trying to change your pick. I'm not trying to talk you out of anything. You know, I'm just answering your questions, and I'm not trying to sit here and tell you I know everything because I don't. I'm learning just as you're learning. And I just, we use our experience, however long your experience in the ring or watching the sport has been. That's all we could do. So I'm not trying to talk you out. For me, my instinct of betting Callum Walsh by knockout, it just as a better, things just have to feel right. There's a bit of an intuitiveness to it. Like, bro, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Me saying, will Callum Walsh stop Tyler Denny? It just doesn't, for me, it doesn't feel right. What's up, Jay Sai? Nika, how am I pronouncing that? So it's not Nakia, it's Nika. I'm thinking Nika McKenna Walsh. Yes, I have that play. Johnny, I put my unit on Gamrot. Rewatched his fight with Armin. Yeah, Gamrot has been stopped since that fight, I'm pretty sure. And Gamrot is a little bit older. Like I said, I like Gamrot for the fight being in the apex, for the octagon being small, for his strengths being grappling and wrestling, and for Q not really being the highest level of grappler wrestler, definitely not fighting a guy as good as Gamer. So when I saw Gamer at plus money, I'm like, let's go. The Aussies don't like it though. Cain Velasquez versus Junior Dos Santos was a great fight too. Oh yeah, oh yeah. See, we're talking heavyweights. My heavyweight goat is Stipe, obviously, because from Cleveland. Stipe versus Verdum, boy, in Cleveland. Let's go. Do you remember that fight? When Stipe got his homecoming and Verdum was on his run, and Verdum was aggressively trying to walk Stipe down, and Stipe knocked him out, going backwards. Stipe's my all-time favorite heavyweight. He doesn't get spoken about enough. Stipe's in my first book. I've interviewed Stipe. My first interview with him was in 2016, and I interviewed him again in 2018 for my first book. Cain got me into the UFC. That's how young I am. Oh shit, you know who got me in the UFC? Hoist Gracie. UFC 1, November 12th, 1993. That's what got me the very first UFC event. That's how old I am. No Connor Cole. I was involved with the film study for ammo. He faked an elbow injury, golfer's elbow. All right. Arm injury. Buzz. See? See? This is why you gotta have this is why you gotta have a smart chat. I swear we were reading. Somebody linked me an article that I read. I know I'm not going crazy. I read an article that it was an eye injury. They shared it in our Discord. So this one says a torn tendon. Boss in the house. There's so much misinformation on the web. In our Discord, I read an article too. I would have never said that. I read an article. I asked our Discord, hey boys, can anyone find information on why Connor pulled out of the ammo fight? And an article was linked about him having a torn retina. Insane. Shout out to Boz. Boz is like, what's up, player? I signed up for Patreon, but I don't see New Era TV. Can you please DM me on Patreon? If you guys signed up for Patreon, simply DM me and I'll send you the link. Are you giving Tyler Denny a real shot here? No. Joseph Ward added to the inactivity getting upset list. Hasn't fought since 24. Artem Kasparian has good tape. Artem Kasparian has a good record. Good amateur, great pressure body puncher. But there we go. Mark Buke dogs in the league. That's good. I'll give you Kasparian, but Mark Buke is crazy. Okay. I hope you hit that. And Eli, throw that in our Discord because you're in our Discord. I want to see the tickets. This is just me as a fan of what we do. Everyone betting on Mark Buke, put those tickets for us to see in the Discord because I want to see them. I want to see what you're if you're really betting on this guy. And because I don't have a dog in the race, I will be cheering for you to win. When I talked earlier about that intuitiveness, that instinct of betting, when I saw Mark Buke versus Connor Coyle, my instinct did not say, hey, Jay, let's bet on Mark Buke. It was like, no. Don't sleep on Q's wrestling. Anti-wrestling versus offensive wrestling is a bit different. Subs and wrestling. Okay. See, the Aussies are going to educate me. So you would compare. Okay. So you would. This is crazy. He was lying. But he sent the link, Buzz. Buzz. All right. We're gonna solve this together. Oh, you're saying Connor was lying. Oh, shit. That's insane. These boys are out here lying. So, guys, this is our Discord. I'm just bringing up. I'm gonna try to bring up our chat just so full transparency. Well, if you're in the Discord, appreciate be doing it. I'm Jack. I'm sending you a link, brother. Bob, I think it's really important for us as married any and man. Love our Discord. Educating. That's like all right. Good. Like where your head. So Eli, so my question is then, because you guys have, and I think you guys understand from my perspective, I'm not in a position because I go full transparency. My platform, my face, my voice, my takes, my online presence, sort of thing, and my tickets. I'm not in a position to offer dogs to you guys and show and tell you I'm taking the dog if I don't see a path to victory. So that's where I'm stuck at. That's why that's my whole thing. And hypothetically, if Mark Buke was watching this and you felt I was, kind of being disrespectful about your boxing skills, that's not what I was trying to do. My point is, for me to bet on a winner, for me to bet on a favorite or a dog, I always show you the path to victory. So nothing in Mark's tape has shown me why he deserves me betting $1 on him being a 5-1 dog. I just don't see it. This is why I'm gonna troll Cuomo. Get in his DMs. We need to pause this out of this. I'm gonna troll Coil all week. I know all his little dirty secrets. He's just okay. All right, boys. Does faking the injury? No, it does not. No, it does not. It doesn't. Thoughts on the fight? If anything, I think it's funnier. So Coyle fakes an injury and he pops for steroids. This dude out here, this dude's in the streets. Coyle is really out here in these streets. Connor was lying. Are you looking forward to Moses and Phil? Yes, I am looking forward to that fight. Did you Mark's last performance? He was a dog. He fought a. Oh yeah, Chamberlain, fucking amazing. Mark Chamberlain. I said it yesterday, and guys, I go live every day, so it's Wednesday. Since Mark beat Pierce, I've done 4 live streams. It's one of the fight of the year of 2026. Both guys. If you were questioning why boxing is the greatest sport on earth, watch that fight. The storyline of that fight was a Hollywood movie. It was literally what Joseph Campbell wrote about in The Hero's Journey. Literally, the hero starts here, finds out his purpose, has everything, then loses everything, and then hits rock bottom, and then finds himself lost and has to rebuild himself back up again. That was that fight, dude. Knockdowns, blood, broken noses, down on the scorecards, corners yelling. It was amazing. Shout out to Chamberlain, man. Bro's on dial-up. I'm actually on NBA. Am I lagging? It's probably because of the Discord. Let me shut. I think it was because I had that Discord up. No audio. Nothing. Now you guys can't hear me? It's insane. What do you think about Joe Ward? Am I muted? I'm gonna call it quits then if I'm muted. Let me know. I'll leave it up for 5 seconds. I've been on for over an hour. There's still 60 of you in here. Jones says I'm on dial-up. Okay, so it's lagging. So I probably have to while out.